Hi everyone, I'm Diana from All Things Laser Earrings, and I am coming in today to give you a really straightforward tutorial on something I get asked on all the time. This is probably like the biggest issue people have, especially beginners, which is they buy a file either on Etsy or through a group or something, and when they go to use it, there are like problems with the file. And this is something I totally rail against, because I'm like, if you're gonna sell files, please make an effort. And I have like a whole Etsy, like SVG prep sheet, like things you should really think about when you are making files. But yes, this is like one of the biggest issues people have is, especially beginners, is what do I do with this file? There's problems with this file. How do I fix it? So this video is going to show you some of the most common problems people have with files. I'm going to talk about like the basics, how to fix it. I am using LightBurn, but pretty much everything I am doing will translate in whatever software you are using, be it Illustrator or Silhouette, or it's pretty much everyone has these basic functions. They just may be called something else, so you have to translate it to whatever your software calls it. And I use LightBurn. I used to use Illustrator. I've stopped using Illustrator. I really like LightBurn. It is very straightforward. It works perfectly. You know that any file you make on LightBurn is going to work perfectly in your laser. So I have pretty much switched to LightBurn. It is a great, very straightforward software. I prefer it because in Illustrator, for me, there's 57 ways to do something. Here it's a lot more streamlined. So it's actually really helped me with designing to have a streamlined software. But let's go back to end the LightBurn ad, which I don't get paid any commission for, and talk about the files. So what I have here is like the basics of a file. Most file designers should do this, all file designers should do this, which is when you get a file on SVG or whatever format you've downloaded it, it should very straightforwardly tell you what each line represents. So it's always smart to have each function that for your file represented by a different color. And I beg you to please stay consistent with all your files, because then it gets very confusing, so that people can break it then down into each function. So on this one, I have black is cut, blue is engrave, red is score. It doesn't matter what colors you use, just make sure you remain consistent. And then what happens is that, like here, for example, on LightBurn, I already have my cut settings, I have my engrave settings, and I have my score settings, and this is for wood, because then I have different colors and settings for acrylic, and then different acrylics, and then, like flex and all that. It changes. But it also helps people that already have things set up to like start cutting faster. So this is the best thing to do. And when you're looking at a file and maybe it doesn't have that, then you're gonna have to like break it down and be like, this is cut, so let's put all my cut on this layer. This is engrave. Engrave, you can always tell because it's filled in, or it should be in the file, and then you can put it all on your engrave level. And then a single line where this is not supposed to be cut through, or else you'd lose the middle element, and that will be my score. And it's good to know the difference. As beginners, sometimes we don't always know the difference, but basically a score is like, it's the same as a cut. It's a line basically, which doesn't go all the way through. So it's just the width of your laser, and it just makes a mark on your file, on your when you're cutting it out, or rather when you're like making the file, the cut will go all the way through, so it cuts your wood. The score will just like basically score. It's a line but doesn't go all the way through. So it's a design element, and it's a lot faster for most people on their laser, especially if you have a slower or low powered laser. And engrave is basically when you have several lines and it's like a closed shape basically, and it cuts all within that closed shape. It has to be a closed shape, And it's a lot slower for a lot of lasers, just so you know. Okay, so this is the basics of a file. Now let's go to actual problems. Okay, the biggest problem I have found, even myself, I've bought hundreds, probably thousands of files at this point, is size. So I'm gonna actually do this so that I can show you all probably from the beginning. So you get a file, like I have this file here, for example, and actually this height isn't too bad. So we're gonna and let's say it's like 2 inches, and it's just too big. It's just too big a file. It's not gonna work for you. So you need to resize this file. So the way you go to resize, you go to your measurements here, and I say I want 1.5 inches, and make sure that the lock sign is on so that whatever you do to one, it automatically does it to the other. And then I enter here. And then what's the problem here? The problem, which happens a lot of times, so that's easy to do, is that then your earring hole is incorrect. It's not the correct size. So you have it here and you but how do I change this now? Very, very simple. And all softwares have this. They should. Which is you basically have to disconnect this earring hole from the whole shape. So you're going to go to ungroup, and on LightBurn, you either go to this man here or you right click and you click ungroup. And now you're able to manipulate each element individually right here. And I can change the size of this earring hole. I personally really like to have 0.07 because I like to use the hooks with the balls on the end, the ball hooks, because I'm not a fan of using a lot of jump rings. And I know that if it's 0.07, the ball hook is not going to fall through. So in order to change the size, I can shift so that it remains a circle, or else I'll turn it into an oval and change it here. Go in here and change it and be looking at the size, although that's a little bit hard. So what is best to do is to go in here. Whoops, I have to select it again. And actually write 0.7 and enter. There we go. And that's should remain a circle. So I don't know, I don't enter. And it says the width is different. So this is not a circle. So let's fix this. How do I make this perfect? I'm going to get rid of that, and I'm going to start anew. So sometimes it's not a circle. So if you want to fix it, you go here, you create ellipse. In order for it to be a circle, you have to press down your shift key and make a circle. If I don't press up the shift key, I'm creating just any ellipse. So I made this circle. It's a perfect circle. I'm going back to my select tool. I'm going to select it. And now I can come in here and write 0.7, enter. And now I have my circle. And I can grab my circle and put it within my shape. However, it's very hard to do this by eye. So you want to make sure, and maybe I want to give it a little bit more space so that in case I'm using a thinner wood, I want to make sure this is centered. So I'm going to select both. And if you select from the right-hand side, you just have to touch whatever you want in order for it to select everything that is within what you're selecting, the elements. And then I just have to go here. This one here is the center. So I click, and it was pretty centered, so it didn't really show. So let me do something a little bit more. I'm really off here. So I'm going to grab both of them again, and I'm going to center them, and you saw how it's centered. So this is how you center it. This is how it looks great. If you want to make a simple earring, you can just grab this heart, for example. I'm going to copy paste. I'm going to make it smaller. It got all whiffy. If you want to size something proportionally, you click on the side here and bring it down. And here I can make a really fun heart earring. Very simple. Once again, if I want to center this, I will go back here and center it. And look, I have a really fun, simple heart earring. Not every earring has to be complicated, right? Sometimes the simplest earrings are the ones that sell constantly. So So here I made you a very simple heart earring. If I want this to be a score, then I change this to score. And that's another way that you can change the elements. Like, for example, the file doesn't really have these different elements, and you want to make sure everything's perfect. So it's going to, you're telling your machine exactly what it needs to know to make the file correctly. So this is going to be cut because the outside, the inside, but this, I don't want it to be cut out. I want it to be scored. So I'll pick my color that is score. If I want this to be an engrave, it's not going to engrave a single line. You have to create a closed shape. So for that, the easiest way to do that is to offset out. So I'm going to offset out. And here, you see the distance here. I'm just going to go outward. I will talk about this in a second. Outer shapes only. I mean, there's only one shape here, but sometimes you're picking like a design that has a lot of elements, but you only want to do the outer shape. So this is one that is normally good to have clicked on. And then these options here, and a heart is a really good way to show this. Here, it's now round. Now see what happens when I click bevel. You see how it kind of changed a little bit, but not that much. And then if I write corner, ooh, that's kind of weird. It did a little funky thing here. I don't love it. Normally with a heart, when you do a corner, that means this shape is a little bit off. When you do a corner, it gives you the point here, because if you see round, if I do round, it's not giving me the perfect point. So that's unfortunate. And sometimes when that happens, you have to play with it a little. I'm going to make it maybe a little bit smaller. Let's see if I do corner, if I get a corner. I do not. Okay, well this means that this heart is not perfectly designed. Go back to round, and then I have, okay. And now I have these two lines. So now what I want to engrave, I will select these two, and that constitutes a closed shape because this heart is closed, this heart is closed. Now when I select both of them, I can now go to my engrave function, and this will now engrave. So, and now, what if I want to do it the other way around? Like, I don't want something to be engraved. I want it to be scored. You just do it the other way around. So basically, I will come here. I will select them. Sometimes they'll be grouped. So ungroup them. This one's, okay, let's pretend we got this file and start over. So I have this, but I really want this to be scored because I don't want my machine to be spending a long time doing this. So I will go right click, I will ungroup this. And then all you have to do is grab one of these shapes, get rid of it. And now it's like all engraved. So if this is what you want to do, great. But if I want to score this, then I will grab and change it to score. And now it's going to score a line for you. This is great if you just want to paint something in, like you don't need the engraved outline. Sometimes you need the engraved outline. Other times you're just painting. So you just want, basically score is great to let you know like the outlines of like a drawing. Sometimes a score is great for handwriting. And for many people, it just means that your file will be made faster. And I think that's the basics of what I wanted to show you. I showed you offset. I showed you the difference between scoring and engraving. That's a really big one. A lot of beginners don't understand that. And the importance of having your different functions, and also how to change your size, how to change your earring hole, and the importance of grouping and ungrouping. So those are very basic functions that will really help you. Oh, let me just show you one more thing. For example, another one, sometimes the earring hole is just in the weirdest place. So I'm just going to quickly do one where the earring hole is, this happens all the time, and it's actually awful, where someone will have some sort of weird, funky earring hole going on, where they will like have something really terrible, like this with an earring hole in the middle. I've seen all sorts of files. We'll turn these into black. black. Okay, and then when this is like a sneak preview on how to make files, and then we weld this. And this, I've seen this so many times, and this is really a horrible way to, actually it doesn't look that bad, but this is a very, not a great way to do an earring hole, because it makes all of this very vulnerable and weak. So many times it's better to have your earring hole more inside your earring. And so what we're going to do here, we're going to ungroup this. Wait, you always have to ungroup first. And also, like, this earring hole is probably terrible. Yeah, I've seen many files like this. And actually what I've done is I've kind of messed up, because you kind of have to go backwards on this one. This is not a good example. So, because you still need the heart. So what I wanted to show you, this is funny. I was like, made that instinctively because I didn't plan this part of the tutorial. And now I'm like, oh no, Diana, that doesn't work. Oh well, here we go. So what I wanted to show you is how to, very slowly, how to like change your earring hole on a design. Oh, that got very skewed. Here we go. I'm just making this bigger. I'm going to make it 1.5. That's good. And I am going to create like an earring hole that is a little bit more nestled inside, so it's not so fragile. So I'm going to shift to create the circle. Oh, actually, this one can be bigger. I'm going to nestle it more within the heart. Actually, I don't think this one looks that terrible, but for the sake of example, here we go. I like to nestle my holes in just so that they're a little bit stronger and they're less likely to break. Sometimes I even oval it out. I don't think in this shape you need to oval it out, but oops, I'm undoing. Undo is Control Z, one of the most useful functions in any computer. I'm gonna nestle it in, and then I'm gonna actually make my earring hole now. So shift circle, I'm gonna measure it here, 0.7, enter. And then I'm gonna grab this, I'm gonna put it in here, and now I am going to center all of this. See how it looks, it's centered. And then if I want to connect this one to the outline here and turn it into one shape, I use the weld tool. So these are all the different kinds of welds that you can have. And they're called Boolean union, which is like the fancy way of saying weld. And then this is if you have multiple shapes. It's if you have two shapes. This is if you are subtracting one from the other, and the order of clicking is very important when you do that. And then this is when you just want the intersection, and the clicking order is also very important on that one. So now I just want to join these two. So I selected the two outlines and I welded, and now I created my earring shape. And here you got to see the heart more. I mean, you still can see, so really you'd want to design. This is when you would have an outline or something in the middle to show that it's like a heart more. This is how, like, because this to me, like, you've kind of lost the definition of a heart now. So what I would do is probably like make sure I had an outline in here. And now you know that, and then continue with my design. But now I know my earring hole is not fragile. This would make me a little nervous. If I was using very thin woods, I would look at this and think, that might snap. Not with acrylic, but with wood. So I like to make sure my earring holes are snug. And I hope this helped. I'll be doing a lot more design videos. I have a course on how to design your own SVGs for the laser using LightBurn and Procreate. Those are my favorite two softwares, and I think they combine really well to make designs. I will leave the link below. And I have a great Facebook group with a great community where we all just really help each other and with any issues. And I'm there to uplift everyone. Thank you so much. And come join me in all things laser earrings. Thank you.